Coming to you live from my bed and not the Grand Tetons. I show like a recap. I don't even know where I was going with that, but also on the floor right now because the furniture company, long story short, they took forever to send me back the things that I needed for my bed. And yeah, before I jump into just kind of a bit of like what we did at Grand Teton National Park, there was a really important question that I got, and I don't really talk about it a lot often, as much as I probably should talk about it. Part of me, I guess, kind of hope that it's just something that's kind of like implied, like you see me, you know, like woman, black, traveling alone, you know, to certain places. And what's that look like? I just first and foremost want to start off by saying that when you see people, you know, who are like, oh yeah, I've been to like all 50 states and stuff like that, like who are the type of people that you typically see, you know, like probably on the little fairer side. Like for me, in my experience, I've only really seen like straight white people who have traveled to like all 50 states. I've been to all national parks and things like that. And that's just on my feed and what I've seen. And even before I started getting into solo traveling and things like that, and even solo camping, like I didn't really see a lot of women who looked like me doing it. And so this is a very important question to me, and I think it should be touched on a lot because it is a privilege to be able to travel somewhere and not feel like you're not going to be safe or feel like you have a target on your back based on the color of your skin. Going to Grand Teton National Park, I did keep in mind that it was myself and my two younger brothers, and I am a little bit more fair than they are, and they're two black men. So for that whole reason, you know, in the back of my head, even when planning this trip, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. Like, I really want to go. But then also thinking about like, you know, just like the current political climate and just the type of people that might be there. I'm like, are they going to be accepting to us? Because I've seen so many, you know, it's like I really wanted to go to Grand Teton National Park for like the past 5 years. When I started to get into, you know, just like getting outdoors and hiking and stuff, like I just saw pictures of Grand Teton National Park online. And I was like, I have to go here. Like, it's so beautiful. I really want to go. But then I also, in the back of my head, I was just like, oh, like, it's kind of like Western vibes, country, you know, like I'm a little adverse to it. I'm not too sure like what it would be like. But honestly, I think it went fine. I don't know why I sound so out of breath. I think because I'm running back and forth because my battery's about to die. So if the camera quality changes because I use something else compared to like my camera right here, then that's totally fine. But yeah, when we got there, like everyone was like super nice. Even from like touching down to Jackson Hole, like there was this woman that sat next to me, like didn't get her name, but like she lived in Jackson Hole and gave me like a ton of recommendations like when we were on the plane, and I was just like so grateful to her. And she was even like, oh yeah, like you can put your legs, you know, like in like my like aisle because like I have short legs, I can even barely touch the ground. And so like I did that, and I was just like, oh, like that's just, it was just so nice, you know. And she didn't even have to do that, you know. And even down to like when we were on the hike, it was just so many people that were just acknowledging us and saying hello, starting conversation. And my brothers were just so happy because they're like, oh my gosh, like we don't get that back where we're from, you know, like people don't really, you know their neighbors. They say hello. Like this is a whole new change of pace and something that we would want to do. And like, as far as like live there, I'm not sure if it was mainly because it was like a lot of tourists. It was Memorial Day weekend. And if it was just a lot of people who were like, oh yeah, like super friendly. But even down to like when we went out, you know, just in town, like the people that we interacted with were just so kind to us. So to answer this question, like, yes, I would travel back to Jackson Hole, Wyoming alone. And I actually do want to go camping, you know, like I think a summertime camping kind of situation would be awesome. So I would do that. There are some states, mainly southern states, that I will probably never travel to unless I like absolutely have to, because I don't feel safe there. I don't feel welcome. And like part of it's stereotypes, but also part of it is just like reality, you know. And it is a privilege to be able to travel anywhere in the world without anybody, you know, placing a target on your back or, you know, going to be, you know, treat you differently based on like how you look. So yeah, before I got into just sharing, you know, just things that we did. And you can check out the full description too of just like everything that we've done. I think it's important to talk about things like this because it doesn't get talked about often, you know? So, yeah. What's funny about like this whole trip is just like we completely went like off schedule of like things that we did, and it wasn't like completely to the T. And I'm just going to show you here that I made like a cute little itinerary on Canva, and I was so excited about it. I was like, oh yeah, we're going to do like all these different things. Like we're going to be, you know, go to this trail, these hikes, like people gave me these recommendations. Shout out to Threads because you guys really came through with the recs and were like, oh yeah, you should do this and blah, 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 X, Y, and Z, all these different things. So, but yeah, I knew coming into it that I'd have to kind of not play it slow, but also just kind of keep in mind that the people, my brothers, they're not super outdoorsy in terms of just like going on hikes and stuff like that, and just like being outside as much as I'm used to being outside. And I don't even get out as much as I used to, but I still know, you know, it doesn't really change. You know, it's like riding a bike. You just kind of know like what you're going to get into. But so it was definitely a little bit slower than I would normally do, but they were still like up to speed. Even when we were going on different hikes, the first hike that we went on, it was to Hidden Falls. We originally were going to take like the little boat thing or whatever. I think it cost like $30, but it didn't open until like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, it's not late in the day, but it was like later than like I kind of wanted to start. So we ended up just taking the hike to Hidden Falls. And I was telling my brothers at first, I was like, oh yeah, like it's 7 miles. That's why we got to, you know, take the little boat, but it's actually 7 miles around the lake, not to Hidden Falls. So we hiked to Hidden Falls, and honestly, they were like ahead of me. Like they were like the kids with the Crocs, and they were just like going up the hill because it was like a pretty big, I might get this wrong, but I think it was like we climbed 500 feet in elevation, and we were already at like, I think it was like 6,000 or 7,000 feet, which is really high for me in my little California lungs. So I was kind of struggling a little bit, but they were just going. They're like, oh yeah, like we feel the pain, but we're still gonna do it. Like they're like, we're huffing and puffing, but like we want to make it to the top. Even when we got to Hidden Falls, which was gorgeous, by the way, they were like, oh my gosh, like we want to like keep going or whatever. And I was like, I think we should turn back because one of them ran out of water. And that was kind of like my concern. And I was like, no, like you ran out of water. Like we can't really, you know, whatever, you know, stay. So we started to turn back around. And then after that, we just hung out at Jenny Lake for a little bit. We did go to like, it was like the Teton viewpoint instead of the Schwaber landing one. I think I pronounced that wrong because I missed my turn and I was like, let's just go to this one. So we were kind of like off of our track a little bit. And then that was cool. And then we got lunch at, I'm blanking on the name. Blanking on it. I'll put it in the description, but like it starts with an S. It was one of the lodges. They have so many lodges in Grand Teton National Park. Oh man, so beautiful. We didn't really see too much wildlife. We did see a fox. We did see horses. We did see cows. They were all gorgeous. And then after we got lunch, we went over to Taggart Lake. This is what outdoorsy is all about. It's just getting outside, embracing nature, and just being one with it. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for watching. Oh, all these flies. Let's take a moment for Taggart Lake because it's freaking awesome. I was just like, it's just so beautiful. Getting there was kind of a challenge too. Like I felt like it was even harder than the first hike. But it was so worth it. And it was also still like a lot of ice and kind of slush from the snow still getting down to like melting and stuff. So if you're going pretty soon, just be careful and take it easy. But other than that, it was beautiful. It wasn't that many people out there. I felt like we pretty much missed the crowds by going a little bit earlier, even though like they were kind of like, oh my God, we gotta be up like 6 a.m. or whatever and be at the park. But it was right next door to the cabin that we were staying at. And I think I'm a little scattered in this video because I really wanted to get it out today. But anyways, the cabin that we were staying at is Fireside Resort, and it's like 5 minutes away from Grand Teton National Park, one of the entrances, or maybe it's the only entrance, I think. But it was great. So highly recommend staying there. I mean, they are a little bit pricey in the summertime, but they do have like, it's like an RV almost kind of park next door where you can camp there, but you can't pitch a tent. You can like, I think, do car camping type situations or RV. And it was great. They're really nice, super clean, everything like that. Also, when I asked everybody for recommendations, no one told me that you can rent bear spray. And I feel like that's probably like one of the most important regs. Like whenever I'm traveling somewhere, I like to know things like that. Nitty gritty, not blaming anybody. I should have did more research. So do as I say, not as I do. Do more research before you go on like hikes and places like this. But honestly, the $50 was worth it compared to just like what could have happened. You know, our lives are more important than, you know, not having bear spray. But yeah, that was pretty much most of the day in Grand Teton National Park. We just drove around a lot. Lots of driving. You'll need a car. You can bike places and just like walk around. I didn't know that so much of Grand Teton National Park is like everywhere. Like before you get to Jackson Hole, like even the airport is technically in the national park, which is insane. And it is beautiful. Like it is so gorgeous. It was just like a dream. But the next few days that we were there, we kind of just like really took it slow and just like explored downtown. We went to the rodeo that was there, and it was mainly just like a trip to just bond with like my little brothers. So it wasn't really like like I could have pitched. Well, I could have. I could have pitched to someone to see if I can get content for them. But I think that's kind of also part of it too, is just like finding that balance between, you know, working and actually spending quality time with people, because I can do it when I'm working, but it can be hard when you do travel type content and just like, oh, I want to be in the moment, but I also, you know, need to get this content, but I also want to attend to so-and-so's needs, you know. And for the first time for my little brothers, you know, doing something like this where it's very outside, like outdoors, I wanted to make sure to like be able to check in with them constantly and just like, how are you feeling, like physically, mentally, you know, like we need to be aligned, stay hydrated, eat, all those different things. I hope the video didn't cut off because I know my battery is dying. So that's why I'm kind of talking like a little fast, but also just trying to be in the moment. But other than that, I think it was like a really great trip. It was easy to get to. I had to do a layover from San Francisco to Utah to Jackson Hole. And it's like the cutest little airport. Like, so cute, super small. You don't really need to get there. Don't tell TSA I said this, but like you don't really need to be there like 2-3 hours early unless you want to chill. Because honestly, I could have probably sat there for most of the day, and I can't say that about most airports and stuff like that. So it was a quick, well, not quick. We went on Thursday and we left on Sunday. So it was great. I'll put more things in the caption of just like what we did, description and things like that. But if you made it this far in the video, I think I'm going to show some extra clips and stuff just so you can like kind of hear the sounds, nature-esque and things like that. But make sure you subscribe and like, comment, share. And if you would go to Grand Teton National Park. And yeah, someone also made a comment saying like, oh my God, I can barely get my family to do outdoor activities with me. And I'm like, this took years in the making. And it took one of my younger brothers to be like, hey, like I want to go on like one of the adventures you go on. Like the next time, hit me up, let's do it. And then we kind of dragged our other little brother into it too. And he honestly loved it. You know, I think it takes like getting out of like limiting beliefs of like, oh, well, people like me don't, you know, go hiking and camping and things like that, you know, so why should I do it? And honestly, just getting outside is just like, even if you're not into hiking and stuff like that, like it's so good for you just to be out in nature. And it doesn't even need to be that intense. Like for your mental health, physical, like your whole well-being. Like I came back feeling more creative, more energized, more excited compared to like, you know, anything I've ever been feeling, because I was been kind of like a rut, you know, after moving, lots of ups and downs with that, you know, just getting adjusting to everything. And I really needed that break. So hopefully you made it this far. Hopefully the camera is still on. And yeah, stay tuned for my next upcoming trip. I'm going to be going to Hawaii for a few weeks, and more details on that to come. So yeah. Dang. Look at that.